Hmm. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. I was going to say I'm late, but no, we are right on time. Good morning to you all. I'm Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, and the laced up legislator for House of Delegates, 93rd District. Honored to serve. Um, Always honored to serve. So I'm doing what we do when we're getting ready for session today. We're going to narrow the scope and hone in on what's happening in this world and sort of bring it home to Virginia. I'm so grateful to have you here. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I'm looking at the comments already. So if you're in the comments and you see the name Jessica Anderson for Virginia, please send her some love as sister legislator getting herself ready for her first session. Just send her love. Y'all, it's real that first session. We're gonna get sworn in together. It's a beautiful thing. Um, what Jessica reminds me of is sometimes the commitment that is missing to what you remind me of, Jessica, who is on Instagram. So if you're on Facebook or the other places, you probably can't see her name. There is that there's still people out there who have a high level of commitment to community, um, while also commitment to remaining their whole self in growth, but also to the people that won't be around their family. And I think in this work, you can lose yourself. You can lose yourself. And, I get to be a bystander in that sometimes, but also when you see people like Jessica, please, guys, send her some love, and I mean it. When you see people like her, and if you're in the Hampton Roads area, I need you to understand that, like, if you don't already follow her, go ahead and do that. I am not on TikTok. I'm saying yes. I'm considering it for the session, but uh, that it is going to be a challenge to remain. Um, it's a challenge, Jessica. So welcome to that challenge. Always here, but please, she is one person in our Hampton Roads area. You all, if you're trying to stay informed, if you're just a doer that wants another take, another perspective, and just she's really consistent. So on a more consistent basis than I, and I'm sure she'll keep you in the know for the new year. All right. So go ahead and follow Jess Anderson for Virginia. If you got TikTok and on Instagram, all those places and spaces, congratulations to her. And um, and excited for the work. Good morning, everyone. I see all the good morning. Jinx, long time no see. Good morning, Mr. Little. All right. So, what I said today is I'm just truly getting ready for session, which means I've got to get myself in the focus of narrowing the scope. And so, today, um, you know, we, what I'm realizing right now as we prepare is that if we don't start connecting some dots right now, right, someone else is going to connect them for us, and they'll do it with the motive, right? We don't necessarily in this area have great well, I wouldn't say like who do I point to, what media outlets, and you can drop it in the comments. Who's your go-to media source for your neck of the woods? Because I know some of you all are not in the Hampton Roads area, but what's your go-to source for information? And it can't just be this, because I know I don't not consistent enough to put all the things out there all the time, but drop in the comments. I've mentioned Ground News before as a place for folks to go to and sort of be in the know, but I want to know where you guys are getting your source stuff from. Thank you, Brian. It's very much so. He says, you know what? I'm looking forward to the great work, and the coordinated House of Delegates Senate governed session will be same Z's. Looking forward to see what that's going to be like. All right, we're going to put first things first today, for real. So I'm going to start with a roll call and sort of names that matter for the accountability purposes for you all in this work, right? Just who is who. We already know that at the federal level, our I don't want to use the word president because I feel like he is not behaving that way. But in the Oval Office, we have Donald Trump, right? His vice president is JD Vance. At the Commonwealth level, and then if you're in our area, we've got Mark Warner, who is also on the ballot. We've got Tim Kaine. And then we've got, in my area, I'm in a 3rd congressional district, that is Congressman Bobby Scott. At the Commonwealth level, we've got right now the current governor is Glenn Youngkin, and the governor-elect is Abigail Spanberger, who will be inaugurated on January 17th. The Attorney General is Jason Urias, and the Attorney General-elect is Jay Jones, who will take office on January 14th. The Lieutenant Governor right now is Winsome Earl Sears, and our Lieutenant Governor-elect is former Senator, now Lieutenant Governor Ghazala Hashmi. She will succeed her. And then down in Richmond, in the Virginia General Assembly, we're going to convene on January 14th. And you can follow everything through LIS. That's the Legislative Information System, again, or LIS for short. That's the best, that's kind of the cast of players, because we're in this show together of who holds what levers. As I said that, I want to put two things out. I just like two things hit me. Number one, we have a town hall. The Norfolk delegation has a town hall on Saturday. If you go to Eventbrite, it is Norfolk's town hall. So I would love to see you guys there Saturday. I don't know why the time is failing me. I'll post it today just so you have it. Go ahead and share that. It's virtual, so you can share that and be a part of that virtually. I also want to hold space as we understand the players, to tell you that because we don't get the opportunity to talk about everything that's going on doesn't mean that it isn't affecting us in some way, shape, or form. I can tell you what happened in Minnesota, and if you're not aware, a woman in Minnesota, her name is Renee Nicole Macklin-Good, 37 years old, mother, was shot and killed by Immigrations and Custom Enforcement, or ICE for short, during an immigration operation. And I'm going to be very careful because, again, leadership means we're not freestyling the facts. And last time I said I had to check the facts. Last time I put something out to y'all, was on the news about saying I was putting out false information, had other elected saying I'm putting out what I directly said. I'm going to verify the facts, but this is what I know you guys are sending this to me, and I know that it's very clear, and I'm looking into it. Here's what we know as of today, right? Major outlets, including the Associated Press, are reporting that she was fatally shot by an ICE officer in an operation. And then there's this video circulating online. So if you're here online, you probably in some way have seen the accounts that differ about what happened seconds before the shots were fired. What we don't fully know yet is the complete sequence of events before that shooting, what orders were given, what was assessed, and whether policy was followed. And that is part of the reason why we have investigations. I look at, as I read these things, and I'd love to hear how you all are feeling about these things that are happening. Is there something in the news that is really hitting you? As I think about getting prepared for session, my chest is heavy. Matter of fact, I'm just be real candid, which I was crying this morning as I did logistics with my daughter because I won't be here to take her where she needs to be. And I know she's going to come home alone. And who are my people to call in? It breaks my heart, but I do enjoy showing up and being here I do enjoy being here for the community. So anyway, ICE claimed that she posed a threat. Others dispute that characterization. And so I'm not here to litigate that, but I am here to underline a principle that Virginians and Americans cannot afford to forget. The boring stuff matters. The rules matter. Due process matters. Escalation of force matters. Threat recognition matters. Because if the rules don't matter when the stakes are high, then they never even mattered in the first freaking place. Right? They never even mattered in the first place. And let me put that, let me contextually say, and I'll probably come back to this, is I'm looking at it from my time I spent in the Navy as what was called it was an anti-terrorism security force, right? For me at the time, I can be really honest with you. I felt like it was just a glorified gate guard. I'm just standing gate guard. Watch. But I had a weapon. I had the opportunity. I had to choose, should there be a threat. I was trained how to escalate and de-escalate force, right? We were taught verbal judo. We were taught, I had to get OC sprayed, right? Every weapon I use, I had to be clear of what that meant I was doing. Those kinds of things matter. And I'm going to say this again, as Americans and as Virginians, the rules matter when the stakes are high. And if we're in a space where they don't, then that means they never mattered in the first place. Yeah. And everyone who stood a post when I was on ASF, again, anti-terrorism security force, carried a weapon. And it wasn't just, hold this thing and walk around. There was training. And if you've been in the military, I'd love you to drop it in the comments, or been a part of any sort of organization or anything where you've had to hold the boring stuff, the rules, the process, the escalation or de-escalation. Drop it in the comments. Tell me about it. I'd love to sort of talk on that. 1,000%. Hey, yeah, I see you guys in the comments saying you just saw the video. Christy Dudley, I'm not sure if we left the UN. I haven't read anything this morning, but I will. Thank you, Jacob. I appreciate you. Kevin, yeah, I have a hard time watching those things. I have a hard time. But I also recognize that you all are consuming it. And so there's a level of awareness that I need to have as a legislator in this. But, when I think about ASF, Anti-Terrorism Security Force, standing those washes, it was about training. It was about judgment. It was about restraint and discipline. It's all like a whole system of expectations that are solely designed to keep the public safe and keep me as the officer, right? Because I'm essentially a police officer, safe. You get the opportunity in those trainings. When I was in the training, what I got the opportunity to learn is the difference between presence and provocation, right? What does it mean to have a commanding voice and a chaotic voice? What is the difference between control and cruelty and urgency and panic? You learn certain truths, and you learn that if you skip the boring steps, you create extremely dangerous outcomes, right? And what we're seeing in front of us, what I am understanding, what I'm holding in hands as a state level elected, dealing with the fact that, quite frankly, there are people who just don't want to talk about this. That it's not politics. It is about our professional responsibility and being in an environment where, again, the boring stuff. And I know I did a video early this year talking about national security because, again, I was a naval cryptologist. I held a TSSCI clearance, and that work, national security, national defense, is boring work, y'all. Like when you in it, you can't really, it feels boring, but it is a professional responsibility. And so there is a connective tissue. Here's the connective tissue that I want to be pointing at. A lot of people think, and again, I'm like coming from a place of getting ready to go up to session and do the Commonwealth, the work of the people, right? Some of it's the boring stuff, some of it's the mating stuff, but a lot of people think budgets are just like paperwork, right? Again, professional responsibility. And I want you all to understand something as we go up here and we try to figure out what monies and what this, what that, is that budgets aren't just paperwork. It's not it feels like it's, but budgets are behavior. Budgets decide how many agents exist, how many operations can actually happen, what weapons and vehicles are deployed, how many detention beds there are, how much pressure leadership can put on in numbers, right? How we can scale out operations. And in July of 2025, our country, our legislative branch at the federal level passed HR 1. And some of you know that as the big, beautiful bill. And it injected massive funding into immigration and border enforcement. I think it was reported upwards to like $170 million in new enforcement and border related funding. And you can read the text yourself. And I encourage that. I encourage you. We have too many tools to help you scan through. Like actually go to congress.gov and read it. And federal implications, like when the federal level implements these things, it's real world. It's like not theatrical. The Department of Homeland Security, or DHS, because I may refer to it as DHS for short, has been issuing notices tied to new fees that are created by HR 1. You can go look at the Federal Register and new fees for them. So yes, I want to say this again. When I say this is why the boring stuff matters, it freaking matters. It fucking matters so much. Because when Congress kind of supercharges, in a sense, makes it like Captain Super Soldier. I was about to say super soldier. Like when Congress supercharges an agency's capacity, it changes what communities feel on the ground. And that's why it matters for the Commonwealth of Virginia. That's why it matters for everyday Americans. The idea of understanding use of force, right? And I promise you, I'm coming to what we have here. The boring stuff, the understanding use of force. And I want to talk about use of force because people throw that phrase around, and I want it to be understood plainly. The Department of Homeland Security has a department-wide use of force policy, meaning that there are these standards and guidelines and how force can be used by DHS, the Department of Homeland Security, law enforcement officers and agents. You can go to the Department of Homeland Security's website and you can look at these things. We also have what is called the Government Accountability Office, or GAO for short, and the Government Accountability Office, it has evaluated the use of force reporting and recommended strengthening DHS's use of force data and oversight, has made that recommendation. So the translation there is that, it's not just like hand wringing. There's governance happening. There are standards that are happening. There is an accountability infrastructure. And so infrastructure. And so when I see a death like what happened in Minnesota, the question is who's right online, right? That's not the question I'm asking about who's the right person online. It's what was the policy? What was the training? Because I'm looking at how the recruitment was happening. What was the threat assessment? What was the escalation decision? What oversight exists? What evidence can be reviewed? Can be actually reviewed? And that's how grown-up governments behave. And we are not there. Let me go back to, Christy Dudley said ICE isn't trained, they're vigilantes. And I can understand why you feel that way. I can really understand why you feel that way, because it sits in my chest. And to Brian Daniels' point, when American citizens have to start walking around with their papers, he said, quote unquote, papers. I'm going to put this up. You know that things are headed in a scary direction. And I'm just telling you, people don't want us talking about this. They want me as a state legislator to act like it's nothing. They want you to, just because you don't see it. Hey, Melanie, good morning. So I want to zoom on. Okay. All right. I kind of want to zoom in a little bit. Or not zoom in. Can you do this with me? Like zoom out just a tad bit. if, let's just say, if the news feels like it's coming out at you like a fire hose, because I do. But if you feel like uh, there, we got to use the numbers to check ourselves, right? The news is gonna keep spitting and spitting things out us, and what I think uh, I want to give you are some like hard anchors, things that can ground it. Again, I'm a sailor, so I keep using these analogies. Some anchors, things that you can use or that I'm actually using, numbers that you can use to kind of check yourself and give yourself a reality check for maybe the things that are not being said in the news, that are not being shared, and to help you have different kinds of conversations, not just from feelings, but from fact. Number one, let's talk about the debt, right? The debt that we have. These are facts that I ground myself in to understand why I do this work, how I need to move forward, and where I need to focus because there's so much. I was talking about Minnesota, the boring things matter, the details, the facts, and coming down into that, it can be so hard to lose focus because there's just so much. Okay, so let's do this. Debt. Here's something I ground myself in with the debt. The US Treasury published this debt to the penny, right? It is a daily sort of data set totaling public debt that we have outstanding. That's a place where I go to look at the debt to penny, and it's a site called Fiscal Data, right? The goddamn deficit. We can go on and on about the deficit. Again, that's the money that we owe, right? Based off what we have, y'all know what that. If you got a deficit, that means you owe some stuff. These United States, we have this thing called the Congressional Budget Office, or the CBO. So if you heard them say the CBO, Congressional Budget Office, it reported the federal budget deficit for the fiscal year, right? That's the money year, which is October 1 to, it starts on October 1 each year. The fiscal year 2025, our debt was 1.8 trillion. And you can, again, you ain't got to trust me. I'm not here to try to be your news anchor, but try to ground you in what's not being talked about. We had a debt of 1.8 trillion. Go to Congressional Budget Office and look. Jobs, the Bureau labeled the BLS, the Bureau Labor Statistics. What they do is they publish the jobs report. If you've ever heard about the labor report, so like what is the employment situation, what are the job openings, what is the labor turnover survey? It's called JOLTS for short. And for context, right now, job openings fell 7.1 million. They fell to about 7.1 million, or to 7.1 million, not about. They fell to 7.1 million in November of 2025. And that is one of the lowest levels in years. The lowest level in years. And that's according to the Labor Department's JOLTS data report. And I read that in AP News, but here's what I'm going to say is that I know it's even hard to trust that because they're changing the sites. But there has to be a way that we, as the general public, get our background and not these hot takes, not memes, but we get some real receipts so that we can order our steps. That sound like church. Order my steps in your worlds. Yeah. Yes. So 7.1. Yeah, I see Christy said trillion, y'all, the highest ever. That debt, y'all got to understand what causes heavy in my chest is I know who we owe. Y'all got to understand the countries that we borrow from. Brian said, well, at least Doge eliminated wasteful spending. Yeah. Sure. Now I really do. I want to say something under that in a very tender but serious way, because this is, yeah, there is something to how we get and receive information that we don't all live in the same information ecosystem anymore, right? Like we're not all seeing the same information. We do. Social has really built these echo chambers for us, right? Where we just hear the things that we believe and then they're affirmed, whether it's fact or not. And to be quite frank, some outlets are doing real reporting, some are doing what I'd like to call narrative manufacturing, and some are just like rage baiting, as my 14-year-old likes to say. I'm rage baiting. So here's what I'm encouraging you as Morning Dew folks to do in 2026, right? Here are our go-dos. I genuinely need you to do this. Uh, if you don't believe a claim, right? If it's something that you don't believe, even if it's going back to what happened in Minnesota, you're seeing it and someone's giving their hot take on it and you're like, I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Don't argue first. Don't even do it. I don't care if it's with your spouse. Don't argue first. Try to find a primary source, right? If it's a bill, then read it on LIS, the Legislative Information System, or congress.gov or GovInfo. Don't just read a headline. We've got to walk away from that. And I'm saying this because I told y'all last week, we got to build these communities outside of online. If it's a regulation or an agency action, read it in Federal Registry. You probably don't know about this. There's a site called Federal Register. Federal Register. Read it there. If it is a budget deficit, read the CBO. That is the Congressional Budget Office. Read it. If it's about jobs, read BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics. Read their releases. And that's not being extra, because I literally get told, y'all, and it fucking blows my mind. I get told, you do too much. You so extra. Why? Because I spend too much time doing this with y'all. And I don't think it's extra. I think it's the literacy that we build. It is civic self-defense that we have to build together. When we talk about the kids coming out of school, they can't read. Well, we are civically illiterate sometimes as a people, right? And then we get our ass kicked on the civic side. And so if we're going to do self-defense, if we're going to be able to fight back, then we have to take our literacy very seriously. And then we have to be willing to have the discourse, because that's the luxury, quite frankly, that we have as being the United States, because we are the United States and we choose it. We choose it. If we wanted to be somebody else, we would be the Queen's men and the King's men. That's not what we chose. We chose the United States. And be fair, my people didn't choose them. If I trace my ancestry back, they didn't choose it, but I'm here and I'm choosing it. When I joined the military, I chose it. The moment I became cognizant of the fact that I get to choose where I go, I am choosing it. I want to say that in the Norfolk area, because I'm like so over this thing of the from here's and the come here's. Like, how long you got to be here till you're actually from here? That same narrative that I hear on a local level, I think about it at the national level of people saying, you're not American. I get told I'm not from here. I'm not Norfolk. I'm not, like, it is no different. It is no different when you see it out in these, when I see it out in these streets. I take it very freaking seriously. So let's just like get to Virginia. So if you're not in Virginia, I'm sorry for you. We get into that. When we look at all these things, when federal agencies expand, when enforcement expands, when budgets expand. Remember, I said budgets, it feels like it's the boring work, but it's behavior. Budgets are behavior. When these budgets expand, it's not happening somewhere else. When you see this at the federal level, it's not just happening somewhere else. When we hone in on Virginia, what does Virginia have that is affected very deeply by these things? We have a major military and defense state. We have a state with a huge federal workforce footprint. We have a maritime economy with ports and shipyards. We are a place where federal decisions hit our community first and fast, right? First and fast. And so there are anchors that we have to do. Federal jobs, researching the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, for data report, like the data for that. And like, look, this is how this stuff is hitting Virginia, and it's going to continue to hit our pocketbooks. The data report said about it was like over 140,000 civilian jobs in Virginia as of September 2024. The DC region saw some significant losses in 2025, but Virginia lost over 23,000 jobs. And that is from BLS. The port, oh God, the economic impact, and that hits you, that hits you and me. The port has had economic impact. The recent study, and it was from the Virginia port, showed that it helps create more than over 560 something thousand jobs and generates about $63 billion across the Virginia state, right? The military presence. Hampton Roads is anchored by installations, right? We've got, I think we're like our own military Facebook of defense contracts and personnel, compensation and all these other things. So I will say that war, wages, weapons, the weaponization of departments. When I say that, when I talk about that from this higher level, bringing it down to us, that means everyone in those things has a Virginia price tag. We gonna pay. The boring things matter. War moves shipbuilding, deployments, readiness, family stress, local academies, wages show up whether paychecks keep up with cost or not. Weapons, they raise the stake of enforcement when conflict expands. The weaponization shows up when agency, they find these ways to intimidate people instead of being of service. And it is not this abstract sort of concept. It is how you and I, real people, live. And as I walk into this next General Assembly session, I'm thinking, what does readiness look like for Virginia? And you can tell me how it's hitting your pockets and how it's hitting you, but what does it actually look like? The session is going to begin on January 14th. That is a week from yesterday. And we don't get to control everything that happens federally. We don't. But we do control how Virginia is to protect people, to keep the Commonwealth functioning. And then we've got to look at it as like, how do we self-sustain? How do we make strong state level infrastructure? How do we ensure that there are resilient local economies? How do we be clear that, about public safety standards? How do we support systems for families navigating this uncertainty? When that whole federal apparatus is unstable, whether it's shutdowns, because I live with a federal worker. I'm on edge while I'm in session doing the people's business. There could be another shutdown. The last one did not feel good, I can tell you. So whether that's shutdowns or there's like this policy whiplash going back and forth or enforcement surges, Virginia has to be stable. We have to be stable enough to not snap. And that's literally what leadership is. And that's what we've got to be looking for. And I can tell you some of the smartest people I know have been people right in my neighborhood expressing to me, here's what I think you do. One woman was like, why don't we have a state-owned bank? Why do we have a state-run bank? North Dakota has. And I'm like, oh, I didn't know this. You all and your civic literacy make a difference in how we do business. So I'm going to go to the comments before I sort of go to the actions for the morning dew, folks. And I want you to pick two when I get there. I'm gonna walk it down, but I need you to pick two because I want to be in a time of action, not of doom. Let me be doomed. Like I'm taking my anxiety meds, right? I'm trying not to spiral because there's so much to spiral about, but I want to get there. Yeah. So what I see, Kay Willie, thank you so much. You said it's not extra, it's extraordinary. Absolutely. David James Glass says citizens need a way to file bills themselves. Then that means we'd have a real democracy. So because we're in a constitutional democratic republic, you gotta use that republic piece. That's where we're at, right? And it would be chaos. So I think we just need to find a more way to be direct and make those connections with citizens so that we can get citizen. I have I probably have more than that city idea bills that I'm bringing forth. Spirited One. So basically they want us to be educated on what they're doing. Yeah. I mean, when you Spirited One, when people are hitting you left and right, you lose focus and then you don't see the other things that are happening, the boring stuff that is making the bigger difference, right? The budgets, the bills that are passed, how they impact it. You're counting on your civic illiteracy, excuse me, counting on it 1000%. David James Glass says also the amount of bills is too much. Can we high five? High five. Legislators voting on things they aren't educated on is a problem. That will always be a thing. I walked into legislating thinking, and these are comments on Instagram, so I can't show you all, so I'm reading them. But David James Glass, I walked in, was like, man, I'm going to read everything. And that is a novel idea. The way I prioritize, and just to give you solace, there's just so much, is that I don't even put my mind to a bill unless I know it's coming in front of me. So there can be bills, you guys, the constitutional amendments, maybe I'll see those because I'm on privileges election. And actually, I don't know what committees I'm be on until that's at the pleasure of the speaker. The speaker will pick the committees and tell us where we're going. But the previous years when I was on it, then I know. But if there's something related to health and human services, I'm not going to see that bill until I hit the floor, right? And this is why it's a team sport, why we have to keep each other educated, because there's just no way to get things done and have everybody be extremely knowledgeable on everything all the time. Think of it like this. If we're building a house, you're going to have your electricians, you're going to have your architects, you're going to have your carpenters. And I don't expect the carpenter to know what the electrician is doing. But when it all comes together, I expect that the carpenter build in a way that allows the electrician to do their job and see things in a way that, and the architect to have that overall, to provide that vision for what we're doing. We all play a role in this, and that's the nature of a republic. It can be a problem, but it's the reality of where we are. And we are always trying to, I can tell you the vast majority of folks there are trying to do their best. What I will underscore, and what I always underscore for you all, is that there are a lot of good-hearted people in the political arena, very good-hearted, present company included. Heart is in the right place 99.9% of the time. Maybe there's some times where I'll be like, I just want to punch somebody in the mouth, or I don't want to do this, heart is in the right place the majority of the time. But I cannot always do things out of the goodness of my heart. I need pressure. And so this is why I come here to you all on Thursdays and say, sometimes you got to it makes it easier for me to ground myself in some of the hard things when the community is like, F that. Yo, this is what we wanted to do. And I can say, listen, I'm getting pressure from the community that asked me to serve. This is the republic part. That is the participatory part of where you all come in, because it can be hard. And I'm just saying this Jackie as Jackie, right? Who is now the delegate. It can be so hard to get in those rooms with big opinions. We all have egos, all of us legislate, because we said we're the one to solve the problem. It can be very hard to get in those rooms and stand firm. Not everybody can do it. And then maybe it isn't standing firm. Maybe it's speaking and saying your opinion. It can be intimidating. But what grounds me is that my community is really good at telling me yes, no, maybe so. Right? There are times when I'm not being directed. I didn't get anybody's opinion on it. So I've got to make a decision. That's what you elected me for. Again, that republic part, the republic part of things. So that is why you're important. And that is why we need more participatory. Yeah. So David James Glass, I love this. You said being extra is how you change things. Most people complain. Us extra folks get the things done. Yeah, I'm trying to live with that. But can I tell you that that hit me in my chest when I was told that recently. What was said to me was that, I was having a conversation about being able to show up and be a collective unit and stand firm. And when we're collectively against the bullshit, sometimes behind closed doors, that we would be better. And I had someone say to me, well, you would be able to tolerate the BS that happens behind closed doors better if you would do less in the community. And I can't tell you that it didn't shock me. You do too many community events, you do too many. And here I am so insecure about not doing enough, right? Like I'm always thinking like, I'm not doing it. I'm not posting consistently. I can't even go to this event. Here I am thinking that I'm not doing enough, and to be told that I can't deal with the bullshit behind closed doors because I'm doing too much outside. It hurt. It hurt. But we roll with the punches. And I have to ask myself, and I encourage you all to do this too, is one thing that I say to myself is, am I willing to accept the consequences for the action I'm about to take? And yeah, sometimes the consequence is ostracism. Sometimes the consequence is, not being able to get something done. But I have to also weigh that with the ability to get things done for you, for the community, right? On behalf of the residents of the 93rd districts, for the citizens of the Commonwealth, for everyone who chooses the come here's, the come from here's, and the passing through here's. Am I hindering my ability to do the job because I'm standing on business all the time, right? Like there's a negotiation factor that happens. And that's why I asked you to really give us some grace, because it is hard work. It's hard work. All right. So let me I'll come back to Instagram. I've been heavy there. We'll go to Daniel. Brian said our president is literally is civically illiterate. I would agree. Yeah. Civically literate is real, and I don't want y'all to be there. Wow. Okay, so Christy, you're thankful. You're right by Fort Craig Adams. Well, we're gonna say it that way all the time. Fort Craig Adams. Shout out to Charity Adams, leader of the 6888. I actually established a 6888 day, which is September 16th. I really want to try to do something on that date. But yeah, Christy, I would love for you all to just, if you're close like that, come to the Capitol, come see us, come, check in, come hug, come all the things. And Brian says, for those of us who are educated on a specific topic that represent, okay, I love this. I think I know where you're going, but I'm gonna slow it down because I might be getting ahead of myself. He said, for those of us who are educated on a specific topic that is represented in a proposed bill, need to speak up and discuss the matter with our legislator, lobby for your interest, and help our delegates make informed decisions. Absolutely. I get yesterday I was in back to back. Every 15 minutes I was on a new 15-minute call from 10:30 all the way till 4, and from 3 to 4 I had an hour-long call to 4 o'clock. Every 15 minutes I was on a call with someone new who had an issue or something that they needed me to hear. And one of them was about hound hunting. Now I live in Norfolk. Ain't nobody out here hound hunting, okay, to Brian's point. But I'm going to, because if I still sit on the Committee for Agriculture, Chesapeake, and Natural Resources, I am going to have to vote on that bill in the early stages where it matters most. How do I get educated on this? And this kind of goes back to David James, what I was saying too, is like we're voting on things we know nothing about. Am I willing to ask the questions? Can I lean into other experts, people that are living it? Yes, that's what I have to do. Because the idea of thinking that I'm going to know all the things is what I would be doing something else if I had that ability to just be in the know in that way, right? I would have to be doing. I mean, money ain't everything, but it's nice. And I'm not a rich bitch, okay? Like making $17,640 doing this job a year. Shout out to my spouse for allowing me to serve and having a good job. But again, it's a good government job that I have to worry about also. Because there was a period of time where we were not getting paid, right? So keeping it real, like that's, yeah. So yes, we do need you to be participatory. It is so helpful. And you may not talk to me directly. You may not talk to the senator, the delegate directly, but you got to talk to their staff. My staff is full-time. They typically make 2 to 3 times more than I make. They're the full-time person here. Okay. So there's that. And I'm gonna get ready to wrap up because I know I got to do the action items, and I've been on here longer than I'm supposed to because y'all do that to me on Thursday. We get to talking and we can't stop. Won't stop. Can I do that? Oh, Rockefeller Records, baby. We get down, baby. Okay, I thought that was Puff Daddy. I was making sure I wasn't being inappropriate. Okay. Oh, thank you. Try to do analogies at work. Hey, hello. Hey, I want to say this to Hell's Angel Raven, who is a local DJ, right? Okay, my therapist said I needed a hobby because work is not a hobby. All right. That's what I was told. She said work is not, I don't, work is fun most times. So I feel like it's a hobby. So I decided to learn how to DJ as a hobby. I need to be somebody's grasshopper so I can learn. I bought some equipment. I need to get a better laptop, but I'm calling you in when you got time. Maybe you can come up. We'll have like baddies at the Capitol or something. You teach me how to DJ, and we DJ in my office. I'm serious, Loki. I'm serious, but I'm playing, but I'm serious. Right? Trying to be transparent though. David James says, do y'all get pressured from dim leadership to vote a certain way? Ever get funding withheld, threats from leadership, or not doing something they want? I mean, I think that's in all businesses. There's a consequence for not going with the flow. I mean, is that a thing that where somebody's like, you don't vote with me, I'm gonna, you know, I think it shows up in nefarious ways. I think maybe not getting support for stuff, not being allowed to go certain places, or for me, I can only speak from my experiences, is that there have been instances where I've recognized that what I've chosen to do is directly impacting what I can do. Or another thing that I'm working on is like, building relationships with people that may be able to have influence over what I can and cannot do for my constituents. So I've seen it show up in ways, but never, I don't think I've ever experienced a direct threat of like, if you don't do this, then this. Now, have I, or I have experienced it where we're just like, look, we need to vote this way. And there may be people that are more stern than others, but you ultimately have to make that choice. And that's that's very few people, sort of roll into that, David. But I would be lying if I said the pressure isn't real sometimes on certain things to move a certain way. And you definitely know there is a consequence because you want to be a team player. That's the tough part, is that when you don't always ride with the team, you can be put aside because you're not seen as somebody who, plays well in the sandbox. And I've been accused of that. I'll say that. I've been accused of that. Uh, and it's a fair and unfair assessment, right? It's a fair and unfair assessment, I think. And again, I have to, I have to, I have to live with that consequence, and I'm kind of okay with it in most cases. But I want to do better because I don't want to ever hinder my ability to show up and serve the people of the 93rd district or Virginians when I have a solid point or feel like I may have a good idea that if executed or given to someone else to execute could be useful. You don't want that, but I deal with a little bit of ostracism, a little bit of, those sorts of things. And it's okay. You have to be able to live with your choices. Kay Willie said we should or could make ourselves available to help point out the holes in bills that impact us and share what information. Yeah, that's helpful. That's super helpful. Like my team having an understanding of what you think the holes are super, because we have this system. It's called iHod, right? It's where I can see all of the bills that I'm going to be seeing for the day, and I can put my opinion on them, but my team can go in and say, hey, you received 5 emails about this issues from constituents that said they're not with it, or a constituent brought up this. I mean, David James is the perfect example. David James Glass is the perfect example of that. He reached out to my office and about the marijuana bill. And I tell this story so much because it's absolutely true. He reached out to the office while we were in session and said, hey, look, that marijuana legislation, I looked at it. It's problematic because my business is going to be directly affected because you're going to unnecessarily overly tax me just for creating marijuana paraphernalia. He does glass. So shout out to him. Go to his page, follow him. He is a small business owner. But there's no profit for me in doing the work if you all put this in there. And is that the intent? And I said, I did not know that. Because I'm not going to see that, we're still working on even trying to see that bill. But what I can do is, based off your knowledge, I can take that information and advocate to the folks that are leading on this issue. I did that like I told them, right? Promises made, promises kept. And that piece ended up being removed from the bill just based off of David James, who's right now here on Instagram, just based off of his advocacy. And I love that because I'm ignorant. I don't freaking know. I don't know what I don't know. So it was really helpful, one, to be able to work with a colleague and help them see something that maybe that you don't assume everything is nefarious. Please try to assume good intent, right? That most times we may not always get it right, but assume good intentions and then lead with curiosity, right? When you're trying to sort of, and I would encourage that not just with the legislators, but in life, right? As we're in such, again, I said we're civically illiterate and sometimes neighborhood illiterate because we sort of walked ourselves into being in bubbles as we sort of try to deal with other people. My good friend always says lead with curiosity and assume good intent, and I'm working on that too because I work in a world where I'm just like, are you serious? Like, I always think it's a, not always, but typically I'm thinking it's a direct attack, and maybe it's not. So I need to do a better job of leading with curiosity. Right. David James says that makes sense. A super diverse dog hunting issues on the end. Yeah, beaches and ocean stuff. Yeah. Oh, Spirited One, what's your birthday? I didn't know. What day is your birthday? You said that's crazy. Creeping a doer, crazy. We love you for. Yeah, well, that's not crazy. I mean, but that's office politics too, you guys. Like when I say that, when I'm talking about the dynamics, it's no different from any other office culture. When you've got a boss or coworkers that behave a certain way, or like it's no different, right? I just get to do it publicly, and the consequences of my actions can be reflective of my ability to do my work for people, 84,000 people, 84, 85, 86, somewhere thousand people. And I have to be aware of that. I quit once a week and then I get back at it. We do this and then I get back at it. It's no different. I assure you it's no different, but they're good people working in our General Assembly. And I encourage you to find the delegates. And if you ask me about a topic, I can pair you up, even if they're not your representative, that are doing the work in the area, because they would love to hear your voice, right? It makes it, being informed breeds confidence, right? When you are sure of something, it's easier to sit in spaces with the discomfort of things if you find yourself sure on what you're sure on, but also open to learn, right? Yeah. Oh, thank you. I appreciate it. She's the best. Who's the best? Are you talking about me? Oh, gratitude. I'm just trying to do what I do. Make sure they're, I'll make sure Baddies. I'm dead serious. Okay, real world change. I'm real serious about Baddies at the Capitol. And I think I want to do it on March 6th. That just happens to be my birthday. I usually don't do anything for my birthday. It's just not a thing. I celebrate my mom. She's the one. Since I had kids, I realized labor is labor. And I just showed up. And so there's space for us to go love on our mother who brought us into this world. So I'm thinking March 6th. It's a Friday. Baddies at the Capitol. You know what I'm saying? Y'all tell me. Listen, I brought it up, but I need some help heading it up. For women's, whatever it is, right? I'm here for it. So David says, appreciate it. And I'm here for it. Inside View. And thank you for giving David James his shout out. Like they're clapping for you because that is a victory, as Kay Willie said, a victory. And we're proud of you, and I'm grateful for you feeling confident enough and follow. It can be hard to tie me down sometimes, but thank you for persevering to get on the schedule to make it happen. All right, so last thing, and I'm gonna get out of here. Gotta head out. Bye. Thank you. I appreciate you. Oh, Kimberly Pope Adams. Listen, Christy, I am getting to know Kimberly Pope Adams. I am excited about who she is, how she is. I don't know, but I'm just excited to see how we work with people. So let me get myself together to close. I'm going to talk about a couple of actions. Remember, I said it is action time. It is not doom time. Number one, the first action, I'm just asking you to know your representatives. Like, who's my legislator is a place that you can go. And it really literally is who's my legislator, where you can go and save contacts and get in the know on people. Number two, learn how to read bills. I talked a little bit about legislative information system, or going to congress.gov, open up the PDF. If you hit Control F, or that little weird sign on you cult Apple people's computer, F, You can find things in a bill. You can find words like fund, shall, fee, definite, detention, authority, may, all those different things, because shall and may is a whole thing. I'm just saying that out loud. Number 3, action, I think, is part of picking a primary source for your morning routine. That's not going to make you anxious. So whether it's the CBO, the Congressional Budget Office, BLS, the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Financial Register, which I think you all need to put that in your lexicon, or LIF, the Legislative Information System here. Not one. I'm just saying one, not 10. Okay, because we can't do it all. Just one. Number 4, I think we need to think about how we continue to protect due process. If we care about civil rights, and we've all talked about this, and I'm hoping to get more ACLUs and NAACPs involved on this, is that if you care about civil rights and safety, then you follow that group that is tracking what's happening in Virginia, that's happening around not just ICE, but, presence and the expansion of how policing and business is doing. And I'm not telling you what to think, because that is not my job. It is not my role to tell you what to think. I'm telling you, follow the paper trail, follow the things. And again, the ACLU of Virginia is a great resource. And last thing, I think 5th is something I try to hold on to that helps me keep myself grounded, is do one Commonwealth readiness thing at home. Right? Do one thing, maybe update your documents, maybe check your prescriptions and properly dispose them. Maybe identify your mutual aid circle. I'm working to try to get the community Costco run a thing, right? How do we talk to the execs and folks at Costco to say, hey, there are people in the community that's saying, like, look, I got the Costco card. I'm buying it. We're going in on eggs. There's 3 trays, because it's like 3 dozen that you can buy. We're going to split this up and each get it's more than a dozen, each get a tray. So what are the things that you can do to make sure that your people can reach you, not fear, but in readiness? And to close this out, this all started because I recognize that what happened in Minnesota, it's not a headline. It is actually a warning symbol. And he just mentioned my CTTEW, right? My former job is in Intel, and it's not to know the things, it's to be able to see the warning signs. And what are the early warning indicators to say that there's a threat or that we're going to be safe? These things are just warning signs for other things in history that we've seen. I need you to get closer to it, because you'll realize, you'll lose the panic and see the pattern. Oh, that was good. I like that. You'll lose the panic and see the pattern. So if you'll know that if the warning is that if we expand enforcement, we have to have better accountability. If we add money, we have to have better or add oversight. If we sort of increase operations, then we have to sort of increase discipline. And for Virginia, the assignment is really simple, and it's hard at the same time. We have to put first things first. We have to learn the rules. We have to read what's written. We have to stay grounded, and we have to actually build resilience. Is that fair? Can we do that? I've always look, I'm here. Yeah, I'm here, right? Oh, join a commission. He's absolutely right. Join a commission. It's a thing. Find a thing. But this is the work. All right. Oh, Grizzly, your birthday's the 7th. Okay, I got to stop reading comments because I got to get up out of here. All right. So here's the deal. As always, I am Jackie Glass, Mama, Navy vet, certified doer, laced up legislator for House of Delegates, 93rd District. I need you to remember that village is a verb. Are we building it or no? It's an action that we do every day. And the thing is doers get more done. Don't sue me, Home Depot. Peace. Love y'all. Oh, Marcella, look, INW is key. Hold on, I'm just gonna put this up here before I go. This is the boss man, okay? I want to go sit in his classroom. I'm trying to get ready to go to the session, but I need to be in your classroom more than you know. Seriously. All right. Be well. Cheers. Delegate Glass out.